Yes, and welcome to the Weigh In podcast with Bonts and the gang. We've got a mega show today. I don't know about you guys, but I'm absolutely buzzing. Boxing is booming. Welcome, guys. We've got Rocky Roach. Steve the Rocky Roach. How's it going, brother?
Yeah, all good, brother.
How's things in Thailand? You all well?
Very hot still. Very hot. But all
Very
good
hot.
other than that.
And I saw there was a boxing card in your neck of the woods quite recently.
Oh, finally, Eddie Hearn has followed me out here, man. He's on my tail. I was gutted there weren't no fans there, but if he gets Chocolatito out here, I'll definitely be going to that if there's fans there. That'd be sick.
Crazy stuff, man. From Leighton Orient to Thailand. And talking of Leighton, we've got the Leytonstone landlord, Sugar Ray.
Still out here, still sweet as ever. Finally, nice to be back on the show again. It's been a while. I had to take a quick sabbatical, but I'm back. What an action-packed weekend to be back.
Absolutely. And we have CB, the main man, Clive.
What's going on, man? Happy days, boy. Happy days.
Good to have you, Clive, man. And cool. Well, stepping on to the scales for the first time, I'm delighted to be welcoming my colleague, a good friend of mine and top sports manager, Ashanti.
Good day, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. Really looking forward to it. It's a real pleasure. I've listened before in some of your work, especially that billam-smith interview was awesome. So, really pleased to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, Ashanti's a fine gentleman from the other side of the river. We tend to have a bit of banter between East and South London throughout the week, so I'm sure that will come into play.
What football team is it, Ashanti? What football team are you going for?
Well, I was gonna come to that. He's a Chelsea fan, and they're not doing too bad at the minute, are they, Chelsea?
Oh, he should have come on 3 months ago. What have we got him on now for?
That's why he was hiding.
Oh, I see. I thought he delayed it. Yeah.
So sorry. At the time, I was just really, really busy. All those games, it just wasn't the right time. But no,
all right. Yeah.
And I must point out, Ashanti is also a fan of the new Scottish Premiership champions, Rangers.
It's all the blue teams at the moment. We're on fire. Happy to break that run of Celtic titles, and can't complain. Chelsea, Champions League draw went our way, so hopefully we can beat Porto, and then anything can happen. I think. Let's see if we can get top 4 as well this season.
No, that's great stuff, man. Of course, I'm delighted that Rangers won the league. My cousin Jermaine Defoe there winning his first title.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so
I didn't make the link.
Big up JD, man.
Yeah,
I'm usually a Celtic fan, but I didn't think about that. Yeah, go on Rangers.
Yeah. So we had JD on the way in maybe 2 years ago now. So we must catch up with him soon when his schedule's free. He's a big boxing fan, so no doubt he'll be looking forward to big fights that are coming up. Cool. Well, sticking on today's show, of course, we're reacting fresh from Lawrence Okolie becoming a world champion. Guys, Britain has a new champion. Britain has a new cruiserweight champion, joining the likes of Johnny Nelson, David Hay, and Tony Bellew. I'll start with Steve. Big fight for Lawrence Okolie, the source. He delivered.
Oh man, he's carrying on that long line of cruiserweight champions that Britain just seems to have a conveyor belt on, and you get world champions, and then you get like dominant world champions. And Lawrence Okolie has that. He's got the ability. I think he's a generational talent. I think he could unify that division, and I think he could move up. I think that he is a genuine fighter, and to do it in 16 fights, he equaled AJ's record there. And he's a special fighter. If they win a world title, if they go to the Olympics and they win a world title before the next Olympics, he cheated a little bit because it got delayed, but still. He still did it very quick. He did it very quickly.
Little asterisk there.
You got to read the small print on here. But no, that is impressive to win it. Sort of in that time frame, the way he did it, Commonwealth, British, European, and now world champion inside 16 fights, and to knock out a very good fighter in doing so. All props, man. He's a good fighter. He's a very good fighter.
That's an amazing story. I mean, let's look at it. I mean, from an overweight boy in Hackney, working in McDonald's during the Olympics. It might have been 2012 Olympics where he's watching the likes of Usain Bolt and Anthony Joshua winning gold medal, being inspired by that, and then say, you know what, I fancy a bit of that. He went to the Olympics 4 years later in Rio. Okay, he didn't become a gold medalist, but look where we are now in 2021, where he's now cruiserweight world champion. That's some story, and it's really inspiring for guys like us from the East End of London. I want to bring in Ray here. I know you're a fan of Okolie. How impressed were you with his performance?
I remember when we first looked at when Eddie Hearn lined up all the fights together, I believe end of January, and we had that episode and we were speaking about what we're looking forward to. And I believe that I highlighted this fight as one of the ones to watch. And boy, did Okolie make me look good. I'm happy for him. He came out at the beginning of his career, they made fun of him, calling him the hugger. But I always gave him respect because I said, listen, one thing about this guy is that he's got his defense in check. He switched to training with McGregor, and then you saw that now that he's got his defensive fundamentals in check, he worked on his attacking options. And my goodness, he's just become a sharp shooter. He was working well behind the jab. And then as soon as he got his range, that right hand started to let fly and he sent a rocket straight to that chin. So got to give it to Okolie. What a fight.
It's funny how you mentioned hugger there, because that was kind of a sort of tagline that was kind of following him for a couple of years, because that's the way he fights. He's very awkward. He's 6'5". He's very lanky. He's got long legs. He was definitely an awkward opponent for fighters. Ashanti, let's talk about the way he's come from in terms of his fight against Isaac Chamberlain a number of years ago to where he is now. What's been the key fundamentals you've seen in terms of his improvement as a fighter?
Well, firstly, I think it might be an East-South London thing, because I don't know how Steve sees the as a generational talent. I mean, I
saw your eyebrows there. They did raise. Mine did too.
I'm really impressed with the victory, and I'll go on to it. I think what I loved, as Ray was saying, was he was just whipping that right hand. It wasn't like a straight one. He was almost boloing it and bringing it up. And then he was touching him downstairs after it hurt him with a jab. No power on it, but he was just letting him know, if you don't protect your ribs, I'm gonna catch you. And it was a fantastic performance. But I'm being deadly honest. I want him to win. I love seeing British fighters win. I love seeing young guys from London do well. But I don't think he's going to beat Maris Bradis. I think that, similar to AJ, if you get a guy who's got a great amateur pedigree and has been boxing for a long time, they're the guys that can outfox guys like AJ and Okolie, who are physically gifted and really talented and punch hard. But I think even though he's much smaller, he's going to be able to control the distance with his feet and beat him to the jab, even though Okolie's is much longer. And I'd love to see him do it, but I don't think he will. But I think he batters Makabu if they fight. If Tony Bellew beat him comfortably, I think that Okolie does the same as he did last night to Glowacki to Makabu. But I don't see it.
Clive, I'll bring you in there. Do you agree with Ashanti?
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to other cruiserweights, I think, if anything, go for Makabu first. I think Brady is the one that will bring him his toughest challenge. So I'll say avoid for now. But that aside, what a fight. And again, with Raymond, with his earlier fights, I wasn't too much of a fan. But at the same time, give credit where it's due. His defense was top notch. And with Shane, we saw him bring out the rest of his artillery. Yesterday, his punches were ferocious. He used his speed, he used his height advantage, and what a fight it was.
Let's look at the notes that I sent over. There's a number of champions in that cruiserweight division. Who do you see, or what route do you see Okolie going down in his quest to clean up this division?
I'll say Makabu first. Given the history of Makabu having lost to Tony Bellew, I'm sure Eddie, well, you know what? With respect, I'm sure Eddie Hearn will look to try and bring Makabu over for that bout.
That WBC green belt, for whatever reason, is always synonymous for like world championship. So I think getting a WBC belt will look good for Lawrence as well. I don't know what it's like. WBC monopolized the world championship like market, because you see that green belt and you just automatically know, like, okay, that's the world champ. So I think that would be a very good route to get that WBC belt. The optics of it and its long history, despite WBC's corrupt agendas of handing out belts, I think it will be good. And I'm still sending in my letter for WBC to give us the podcast title, but we have to wait and see.
Whoa, Ashanti, check your inbox. You might get an email.
Yeah, I'm looking for it now. Two quick things I want to say. Do you guys know who Makabu's brother is? Because that could add to the story. I think that could make it a little bit interesting. His brother is Martin Okolie. So in my dream...
Oh, no way!
Yeah. Martin Okolie is his big brother. In my dream, I think it's Martin, it's like Ilunga Makabu Okolie. That's his like full title. If I've got Okolie on Facebook, I think. If you look, they're brothers. And it'd be great to see Okolie and... let's say Sauerland got involved, like Hergovich or a Hunter on the undercard. So I really could see that at Goodison or at the Echo Arena later in the summer, which would be great. And the other thing I wanted to mention, again, part of the kind of dream scenario is maybe Bradis. I think he works with the Sauerlands, or they've got a close relationship after doing the World Boxing Super Series.
Yeah.
He fights Gulamarian to unify on that side. So he's got 2 belts, Makabu Okolie, and then kind of later in the year, maybe on that huge AJ, maybe fight 2, which we're hearing might be kind of December time. You could see all 4 belts get unified. I know I'm trying to talk it into existence, but that'd be crazy.
That sounds great.
That sounds great. And what Uncle Tunde would say, dream it, believe it, become it. So you never know, man. You never know. Some good matchmaking there. Guys, let's stick in with Lawrence Okolie there. Let's talk of him one day following the likes of the Real Deal, Evander Holyfield, and of course David Haye by moving up to heavyweight. Do you think that would be the right move for him? And if so, when?
I don't think it's possible. I think the game has changed too much now. Like when Evander Holyfield did it, heavyweights were of a certain size, but now, you know, you've got these kind of super heavyweights, and then they're getting even bigger. So even like Anthony Joshua and Vladimir Klitschko were super heavyweights compared to the 90s heavyweights. And then now you've got Tyson Fury, who's 6'9", he weighed in for his last fight, 270 pounds. I just don't see how it's possible. Deontay Wilder was a cruiserweight in the amateurs, and he was a heavyweight world champion. But it would be very difficult. Like, you've seen Usyk come up, who is by all accounts a generational talent, and he's even struggling. So you know, I don't know. I don't think Okolie could probably do it. But let's focus on unifying those titles and proving that he's a generational talent.
That's a fair point. No, that's a fair point. I'd say it's a fair point, because I think a lot of people don't see it like that in regards to, like Steve said, Usyk going up. We saw that these new crop of heavyweights is going to be hard. And with the Wilder point as well, he was a very small heavyweight. He just happened to have a detonator in his hand. And with Okolie, if he was to go up to heavyweight, it's either he has to heighten his skills to match going up to heavyweight, or he's going to have to put on a lot of weight and hope that his hands can still knock people out, which, I mean, you never know. He might unify the cruiserweight division and then knock everyone out. And if he does that, then it might be a sign of, listen, you can go up there and do damage. But for now, I think the right thing is, get your profile more bigger, unify the division. Hopefully by late 2022, people will be back out again. The Rona will be gone, and we can do a big, I don't know if he's ready for stadiums yet, but we can definitely do O2 Arena. Lawrence Okolie against Bradis would be the dream matchup if everything falls into place. O2 2022, late 2022, and then I think that might be the beginning of making a pay-per-view star of Okolie.
There's fights that he would still that would be able to sell, but they're not elite fights. So, like, does he have to fight for a world title if he goes up there? Just say Tyson Fury is the world champion. I don't really want to see Okolie against Tyson Fury, but do I want to see Okolie against Dilian Whyte? Yes, I do. Do you know, if that's not for a title, would I pay pay-per-view money to see Okolie against Dilian Whyte with that build-up and that interesting level of fight with that background? Of course I'm paying that. So you see what I'm saying? Like, so there's fights there for him. Could he be an elite dominant heavyweight champion? No. Could he have interesting fights up at heavyweight? For sure, I think.
I've spoken to a few friends who know Lawrence's team quite well, and he's almost certainly going up to heavyweight at some point. Apparently his body is made like, you know, he really struggles.
It's a big fight, isn't it?
Yeah, well, he was 21 stone, wasn't he, when he started boxing? Like, he's a big guy, and I think he is definitely going up to heavyweight. And you're right, I think I put about 6 or 7 names down when I was speaking about it. I think, again, like, I hope it's not my South London bias, but I think Michael Hunter would give him problems. I know Michael Hunter's smaller, but I think, again, it's that, you know, footwork and kind of head movement would kind of give him fit. But I'd love to see him and Dilian Whyte, but I just think Dilian Whyte is too big, too strict. Like, I think Okolie, the problem I see for him in the heavyweight division is all of the things that make him a special, potentially heavy cruiserweight, they're negated in the heavyweight division. They're all massive. They're all going to be able to take a punch. Can he beat Daniel Dubois? Do you ever see that? I think he's just bigger and better than him in every department. I think he's an inch or two taller. I think Daniel punches even harder. And yeah, we had the eye issue, but Joe Joyce, man. Joe Joyce, like, he's a hardback adult. Like, he's like 35, and everyone in the amateurs and like won't take a backward step. But I'd love to see him up there. I think there's some great fights there. And I was going to say, lastly, when you talked about him being the hugger, a couple of people have said, you know, at the start of his career, it was like watching his fights, drunk couple in Oslo and Hackney. Just, you know, two people.
I've been there before, actually, yeah, by the station.
Yeah, exactly. You've probably seen Lawrence in there.
That's
probably where his first couple fights were.
To be fair, I have seen Lawrence knocking around Hackney. I think there's Birthdays, that club there. What's the other one in Dalston? I forgot what it's called now. I'll come to that in a second. But he's been knocking about over there. Yeah.
Hopefully he'll be out again.
Cool, blimey. Well, I mean, yeah, great stuff for Lawrence Okolie. And guys, I want to point out, he's actually the first world champion from Anthony Joshua's 258 management group. So a big shout out to AJ, to Benga, to Will Harvey, and all the guys over there. It's a real good achievement for 258 management group. Ashanti, let's bring it back again, because I know you work in that space and that field. I mean, that's a real marker for a management company to, within 3 or 4 years, have a world champion.
It's fantastic. And AJ and Freddie, they've done it themselves, as in, you know, it's not like Lawrence has been given a world title. He's fought an ex-world champion. I think he was a 2-time world champion. And yeah, that stable is really growing. And I'm looking forward to seeing how it does in the next couple of years, because, you know, my South London bias coming out again. I love Joshua Buatsi. I think he's talent. Ramla looked great last night. Ramla Ali looks good. I'm a big fan of Suleiman Sissoko as well. You know, they're really growing that stable, and I think in the next couple of years you're going to see a lot of future Olympians this summer wanting to sign with 258. And yeah, salute to all of those guys, matching him well and bringing him up. And Penny boys are clearly on fire.
Penny boys.
Hold tight the Penny boys.
Andy Joshua are going to become the new Al Heyman.
Good stuff. Well, for those listening, please let us know who you think is, or who's your favourite, shall I say, who's your favourite British Cruiserweight champion. Of course, I mentioned the likes of David Hay, Johnny Nelson. We had Carl Thompson back in the day as well, Enzo McAnally. So there's a nice long list.
Tony Bellew before the Scousers come for us. Tony Bellew.
Yeah. Of course. There's a nice long list there of British Cruiserweight champions. So let us know in the comments who's your favourite British Cruiserweight champion. A bit of housekeeping, a bit late, but Clive, do you want to throw us in? A bit of housekeeping?
Yeah, you know what to do, people. Like, subscribe, share.
Aunties group chat, send that.
There you go.
Aunties are the biggest senders of links, so send that in your auntie's group chat and tell her, tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend, and then it'll come back to us, and we keep on growing this community so people will stay weighed in. So yeah, say that to your auntie's group chat. And I must say, I told you guys in the group chat, our sort of podcast is now trending in my uncle's group chat as well. So a big shout out to Easy T, Uncle Tel, and the man them. Shout out Uncle Tel.
big boxing fans from back in the day. I mean, I grew up with them talking about, you know, the likes of Lennox Lewis and Frank Bruno. So it's good that they can hear about the new generation of world champions. So a quick word on the undercard. Trainer Shane McGuigan was certainly a busy man last night. With 3 of his fighters in action at the Wembley Arena. There were wins for Anthony Fowler and, of course, Chris Billam-Smith, who joined us in our last episode. Let's start with Fowler. I know Steve's not quite the biggest fan, and you know what? I want to get Fowler on here one day so you can kind of mash
what do they call that commentator's curse last night? Where I was like, I really don't rate him.
and then Q not done, but
I was just trying to help him out, you know. It's just my luck in it.
I mean, he's a machine, and he's someone that does live the life, you know.
Do you know what? He's a very, very fit and like obviously a very dedicated pro, and he's got the mindset. He's an Olympian, and he boxed well. He did what he needed to do last night, but it remains to be seen.
Do you think he should have that rematch with Fitzgerald?
I want to see it.
Yeah, I definitely want to see it.
I think
he's one of my favourite boxers, man.
100%. I love the clash of like styles of just lifestyle, of just like the whole personality. Fitzy's just rough and ready. He's like, ABA's what? Get out of my face. It's like, you know, my man's on the Team GB squad and, you know, lovely tracksuit. Fitzgerald's out there, mate. He's just like, you know, pint of lager, a packet of crisps, going to have a fight, whatever, mate. I love it.
You guys heard the song he comes out to?
Yeah, a bit of Sky's house there.
Yeah, no Fitzgerald. Comes out to Mali. Like, he's just a straight road man. Like, I just
about his life.
Pretty sure he's got like some kind of crazy big dog as well. Like, he just doesn't care. And I think lots of the British boxing fans were happy when he beat Fowler. But good for Fowler last night. He looked great. But again, I think that Sergio Garcia fight gives him fits. You look at Garcia, I think when I watched him against Cheeseman, I think that kind of style is bad for Fowler. I think Fowler's great if you come forward or, you haven't got the best movement in the world, but can see him getting really frustrated by the angles that Sergio Garcia picks and the way he's going to move his head and kind of just frustrate him and not hit him too hard, but hit him hard enough to just keep him off balance. But love to see the fight and really want to see the Fitzgerald rematch. Just want to see him come back, to be fair. Come back soon, Scott.
Just a quick word on Chris Billam-Smith,
Right.
who came out to Kano, talking of ring books.
London again.
What do you make of that fight? 10 rounder.
Do you know what, man? They matched him tough for like what? When did he announce? He announced the night. He gave us the exclusive shout out. He announced the night show that he was his fight got pulled, and like they put him in with a tough replacement. Last minute he's training for a southpaw. And he did what he needed to do. I thought, do you know what I mean? That guy was no joke last night. And, Chris brought it, did what he needed to do to get a W.
Good stuff, man. So, big
Billam
shout
Smith,
out.
friend of the pod, as you
There
like
you
to call
go.
him.
There you go, man.
Oh, for real.
I love that McCarthy fight as well. I think Billam Smith runs through him. Tommy McCarthy's a bit chinny, unfortunately for him. And again, no hate for McCarthy. Seems like a great guy, family man, all of that stuff. But CBS punches hard. I've seen him fight. I've seen him up close personally. He's a big guy, and I think European title fight, and that sets him up potentially for an Okolie fight down the road, or a Bradis fight. I can't see too many other fights before that, and I think this is going to be my role when I'm a guest. Who is Tommy McCarthy's cousin? Do any of you guys know?
It's a game of family fortunes, mate.
Yeah, I know family trees in that.
His cousin is Labyrinth.
No way.
Oh,
There we go.
Another Hackney man as well. So
comes out to Labyrinth, and he comes to quite a lot of his fights. So could see the gentleman going up against Labyrinth and Tiny Temper.
Well, before I do pass out, let me move on. Come on. So that's a quick one. Big shout out to Chris Billam-Smith. A big shout out to Shane McGuigan. For sure, the McGuigan gym, one of the most buzzing and thriving boxing gyms, stables at the minute. Guys, let's now move on to the heavyweight scene. Finally, we have some contracts signed between Anthony Joshua and the Gypsy King Tyson Fury. But what does that mean for us? Because, contract is signed, but there's no date, there's no venue, so there's still a massive, massive question mark. How important is it that we are that one step closer to the biggest fight of all time? I'll start with Steve.
It's obviously huge. I saw a lot this week that saying it means nothing, which in the grand scheme there's still a lot of stumbling blocks to go, etc. There's a lot it's not just money that stops these fights happening, and it's not just I want this much money, I want this much money. There's a lot to negotiate for a top level fight that would get a lot of advantages for one fighter or the other, and to get all those crossed off is a huge deal. And now all you've got to focus on is the financial aspect. And there's tons of cash on the thing, but they were both looking for those advantages, on those different negotiations. So to get all that, if all those are finalized and signed off, that's exciting news for me, and that's worth releasing.
I know Warren wasn't happy with the release. Didn't he have a statement coming out saying that he wasn't happy with the announcement?
Frank Warren needs to speak with Bob Arum, because Bob Arum didn't seem too perturbed. So it sounds like Bob Arum done more of the deal than Frank Warren did, and he's upset that he's been left out. This is becoming it's like being in school again, and the kids are trying to outdo each other, and Frank Warren's the odd one out. That's always saying, how come I don't know about this, even though he's my fighter in the UK? And listen, cash rules everything around me. Shout out to Wu-Tang, but I'm just happy that this fight is closer, and I'm just waiting for unified and undisputed champ Anthony Joshua to be announced. So they just need to hurry this up, because I need my guy to get all the belts.
Whoa! Is that prediction, right?
Yeah.
All the belts, mate. It's definitely straps. Definitely strap
Is that
season.
prediction, right?
That's the prediction. Listen, Thanos told you guys in Avengers, I'm inevitable. Anthony Joshua is inevitable. Thanos for all the rings. Anthony Joshua's going to get all the belts.
Ray, was he inevitable when he was fighting Andy Ruiz? That's my only question, because Gypsy King, there's no man
Let
born.
me tell you something.
Pulling no punches, Ashanti. We're normally like a PG show, man.
Here comes, man. He hits hard.
He comes in, he's like bloody Triple H or something, attacking everyone.
Well, guys, I just want to let you know, during the week, we put a poll out on our Instagram page. on who do you think will win between Joshua and Fury. And to let you know, it's still level.
Oh, really?
I know, it's still level. I was hoping for a little indicator to see where the public will think, but it is still level. And it's a shame that it's a real shame that, the gyms are shut, the barbers are shut, because it's the kind of conversation where no matter where you go, you're going to be talking about getting that buzz and talking about it. So and it's a real shame that it looks like this fight won't be placed in England. At least the first one won't be in England. I mean, I was hoping for a massive Wembley Stadium fight, full ass 90,000 fans, but due to the pandemic and the times we are in right now, that's not going to be possible. Ashanti, just from a sports business perspective, how important is it for this fight to take place, and where do you see it taking place? Because again, we're hearing rumors it could be in the Middle East. Joshua fought Ruiz in the second fight in Saudi Arabia. So do you see that fight being over in that part of the world?
Unfortunately, it has to be. With my heart, I as you say, I'd love it to be at Wembley. I'd love to be able to watch the fight between two Brits, but I'm dreaming of a second fight at Wembley at the end of the year. But it has to be in Saudi Arabia. I mean, when you've got no guarantee that you can have a certain number of fans, as we have in the UK, we're hoping this summer that, the Euros, the final, we might be able to have a full house, but you can't say with conviction that that's the case. And Eddie Hearn is a businessman, as is Bob Arum, obviously. And, these guys are putting their reputations on the line, so they deserve to be paid as much as they can do. And the Saudi fight against Andy Ruiz was amazing. So unfortunately it has to be, but we'll all be able to get the pay-per-views. We'll be getting our popcorn, we'll be getting it ready like Richard Schaefer. I'm just to add to your point, I'm really happy the way things are going. I'm not going to be negative about it. I think the contract's going to be signed. Yeah, they need a site fee, but I think cities and countries are falling over themselves to host this fight. So I'm not too worried. I'm just looking forward to the announcement, and Ray and I can go at it, and we know who's going to.
Listen, I'm just glad that you reminded us after that hiccup that Andy Joshua did indeed face Andy Ruiz again and beat him. So hiccups happen. The last undisputed champion was Lennox Lewis. He had a few hiccups and then he got that back just like Joshua did. So history repeating itself.
Did it happen to Floyd Mayweather or Tyson Fury?
Tyson Fury.
He had a draw.
Yeah, Steve, I want to bring you in because you're probably the best man to kind of give us an insight because you're based in Thailand right now. So it's March. It's March right now. It looks like this fight will take place in the summer. Just how hot is it going to be in Saudi in July, in August, September?
Oh, it's going to be outrageous. The aircon bill is going to be through the roof, mate. Honestly, but I guess it's not really about that, and I'm not sure, if fans will be able to fly in by that stage.
That's the thing as well.
Probably not. They won't be selling it out. But I feel like it's more about trying to market Saudi Arabia, just say it is Saudi Arabia, as a country where world-class events could get staged. Like they had WrestleMania, and they've had the final of the World Series of Boxing. Yeah. So they're trying to market themselves and come more into the mainstream in terms of create a level playing field with other countries or other cities that are known for hosting world-class events. And that's what they're trying to do. That's why they'll pay that initial fees now. There's good money to be made in that particular region to try to get that development going. So it's a good option. If they're talking about $100 million site fee, which just kind of smashes most other places out of the park, and it's not really competitive, and you've kind of got to go in that direction if it's so much more.
I guess a lot to think about in terms of the logistics and how we make it work. If we kind of go back to Joshua Ruiz 2, that was live on Sky Sports. I think UK time might have been about 9 p.m, 10 p.m, which would have been maybe midnight over there. Clive, there's a lot of things to work on still, even like the network. Is it going to be on BT box office? Is it going to be on Sky Sports box office? And if so, how much? Because we're at home watching it. I can imagine it being, what, 40 quid?
Yeah, probably that, most likely. There's a lot of questions that, have been unanswered. Yes, they have signed and whatnot. But again, with the different streaming platforms, who knows? Because, will it be your Sky Sports, The Zone, they're coming together. You've got BT with Frank Warren. And in terms of cost, I think it'll be between 30 to 40.
It's creeping up. Here's
the question. At which price point would you not pay? At what price point do you go, nah?
I think us chaps will all cough up, though.
Dig into that the way in budgets bankrupt us.
Yeah, once you go past £50, I think it's like once you start getting into unprecedented costs, because the only thing is, this is where it gets tricky. This is a generational, we've been throwing this word around today, but this is truly a generational fight. So it's going to be more understandable to say, for this fight, we need to up the cost, because cost of running this, these fighters are expected to make a certain amount of minimum. So you're going to have to up the cost. In addition to the fact that I remember for Mayweather versus Pacquiao, that was a rare occasion where they showed the fight on 2 separate networks in America. So this might be a case of, if they do 2 separate networks, which is BT Sport and Sky Sports, then they're going to be even more justified to up the price to cover the cost of splitting the bill, basically. So if they're going to go Dutch, then people should expect to get their wallets out. So hopefully pubs and bars are open so we can share the cost with them.
I agree with what Ray was saying. Like, I hope Eddie Hearn doesn't hear this, because there's almost no price I wouldn't pay. I'd probably pay up to like £80. No, being serious, like I have all my friends around. We've been in the house for like 14
Don't pay it up, man.
But seriously, like, this is a huge fight. I'm never going to listen to Eddie Hearn and say it's the biggest fight in world boxing, because it's not. Because honestly, I know it's the heavyweight division. It's not, because they're 2 British fighters. Do you honestly think?
What?
No, come on. Do you think Californian fight fans or Texan fight fans think that this, like, they're going to look forward to it? But it's not. It's the biggest fight in like Britain and
heavyweight unification.
Which fight is bigger? Which fight is bigger?
Canelo Triple G3. Canelo. Canelo is so much bigger than AJ. It's just because we're British. Canelo is the man. Like,
hasn't AJ got a bigger following?
Are we living in a social media world? Okay.
If we're looking at that,
it's the biggest indicator of social like following.
A massive indicator.
If that's the metric, then maybe. But also, AJ's got a far better PR team and public image and stuff like that than Canelo will do. Like,
ask Canelo's numbers in comparison to AJ.
I think they're very.
Yeah. What did they last? Like, they're both with the Zone. Who's doing more numbers for the Zone? Because I'm sure Andy Ruiz, Joshua 2 did some serious numbers. Like, that is some damage.
Did you say Andy Ruiz, the Mexican American?
Oh.
Yes. There's nothing to do with Canelo. Something to do with Canelo, though, is it? Something to do with Canelo.
I'm saying Andy Ruiz is part of the driver. Like, Mexican, you listen to everything Eddie says and stuff like that. It's the Mexican.
Who did Andy Ruiz fight before Joshua?
Joseph
Crickets. It wasn't Joseph Parker. It wasn't Joseph. It was on the undercard of.
There was a fight in between. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll come to that.
Ram? Did he fight Rat, or was that another guy?
Exactly. And this is what we're talking about with Andy Ruiz without AJ. That's what you're talking about. With AJ, different story.
AJ is a huge driver, but I'm just saying that the Mexican American market is a huge driver as well. And yeah, but anyway, I digress.
I think they're 2 different sides of the same coin, because obviously with Canelo, like, he's got the big Mexican crowd with him, but then he's also got the Hispanic nations as well. Whereas AJ is Europe and also West Africa. You could even say Africa as well, because he's obviously encapsulated a lot of the Nigerian fans are going to be tuning in. He even says himself that he wants to one day defend his belts in Nigeria. So I think the 2 sides. They're 2 megastars.
Tyson Fury is a star in his own right. Also, sleeping on Tyson Fury as if he doesn't do.
He ain't sold out Wembley Stadium. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, he hasn't had the opportunity, but he's done extremely good numbers over in America.
Vegas.
His socials are great. Like, his socials are showing.
They were decent, something cute.
Can I also bring up J Balvin? Like, we saw Canelo's last fight. He had J Balvin. Do you guys know how big J Balvin is?
That's
like, in the world. Like, I've had the pleasure of working with a few musicians, like being on podcasts with Lele Pons and stuff like that. Some of those Hispanic and South American musicians are going to have a look at numbers. Look at their numbers. J Balvin.
AJ Stormzy.
Stormzy.
Yeah, he's right.
South London's
like I said,
South London's fine, isn't it?
The same coin. 2 sides of the same coin.
But also, I want to say Ray is completely correct. Like, everything Eddie's saying and stuff. BT and that TV thing, I'm not too worried about. It's just the site fee. Everything else is sorted. Someone will be first. I think someone will be first in the ring, and the other person will be first with their name. Like, you know, Fury versus Joshua means Joshua comes out second, so he's the quote-unquote champ. But yeah, they'll just split it. BT and Sky, they know they're going to make a fortune. I'm not worried about that. You can't be thinking about that when these fighters are looking at 100 million each. Like, these are things that business execs are going to get over, because Sky have lost a lot of money in this pandemic. And, you know, it's been a really tough year. They know that this is going to be a revenue generator. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of a minor issue. I think people are over-egging it. The fight's going to happen. I'm convinced.
Wow, mate, I'm just sitting there thinking, jeez, I can't wait for that. And no doubt we'll spend the next couple of weeks talking about all the, you know, logistics about this fight between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. Let's stick in with the heavyweight scene. We've got a big fight coming up between Dilian, Whyte, and Povetkin. I've asked you guys a number of times before if you think it would be repeat or revenge. How do you see this fight going, guys? I mean, the first one, wow, at Matchroom HQ at Fight Camp, where I don't think anyone, I mean, I guess it could be British bias, but I know none of us here saw Dilian Whyte getting knocked spark out by Povetkin. If anything, we kind of thought he would deal with this fight nice and early, and then by now, he'll be a step closer to fighting for a belt he so deserves.
I'm very nervous. Going with Dilian, going with my heart. Hopefully it's a case of revenge, not repeat.
One of those heart versus head moments, isn't it?
Yeah.
Quite often, us as, you know, those who are a huge romantic of the sport, our hearts get broken.
100%. And you know, I knew you were going to ask me this on the pod today, and I was walking down the street and I was like, Dilian's got that, man. And I just had the little highlight reel of him doing his thing, you know, the 2 knockdowns. And then that kind of imagery of him just sprawled out and that quick. I was just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I literally haven't got a clue. It's a good fight.
I'll say definitely is a second fight. It's a case of, can Dilian do his game plan without getting caught? But he gets caught in every big fight he's in. He gets caught. So can you say that he's the fresher boxer? Yes, but like I said, when you got a tendency to get caught in all your big fights, it's very daunting. So we'll have to wait and see.
Mate, you sound nervous.
It's just cautious more than anything. Okay. Like I said, it's like when you've been known to get caught in your big fights, there then comes the point of when you do get caught, is it going to be another knockout blow, or is it going to be one that you can take on the chin? And at this point of his career, I don't know. He maybe, but can you remodel your fighting style that much to not resort to how you was before? So we'll have to wait and see. But I'm more 50-50 on it.
Ashanti, what key things has Dilian Whyte got to do to overcome Povetkin? I know he's kind of had a little slight change in his camp ahead of the fight in Gibraltar. How do you see him kind of going forward?
For me, the most important thing is the mentality. And I know Dilian is so strong mentally, but I agree with what everyone else has said. There's got to be a part of him that is a little bit worried about, you know, you can't get sparked out like that and kind of just brush it off and not worry when you're fighting the same man 6 months later. So I think it's just purely believe in himself, believe in his chin, and believe in the game plan, and know that he was winning the first, 5.5 rounds, and then it was one shot. It wasn't 3 rounds, the tide turned and he got battered the way kind of you could say Dubois got from Joyce. It was one shot from the heavens, you know, one of the best knockouts I've seen in a while, especially against a man who has a good chin. Yeah, Dilian got knocked out by AJ, but he didn't get knocked, you know, it was kind of an accumulation of probably tiredness and nerves. It wasn't kind of just his chin got exploded. But I'm super nervous. I won't lie, you know, Miguel's gym, South London, Brixton, you know, I've got a few times, see the guys train, Isaac Chamberlain and stuff like that back in the day. And yeah, I'm very, very nervous, but hopefully Dilian pulls through. Wanted to mention as well, there's a huge fight on that undercard that I can't wait for, McKinson versus Congo as well.
Yeah, Congo. Yeah, big shout out to Congo, man.
Yeah, for real. Can I just add as well, like Dilian Whyte, I'm just concerned that he's going to fight a bit scared coming into this fight, and I've got a fear that from some rumblings from the camp that they're working on boxing, which is all well and good. Yeah, you should be boxing, but you've also got to have that faith that you can let your shots go. And if he comes out and gets caught in no man land, somewhere between boxing, they call it gun shy. If he comes out a little bit gun shy, and he can't get his shots off, and he's focused, so, like his whole camp has been about beware of the right hand, beware of the right hand. That can mess with a fighter's head, and he needs to have confidence in himself to get his shots off. If that doesn't happen, it's going to be curtains, man. So he needs to have confidence.
It's like what you guys said. Like those first 5 rounds, he was dominating. But he put Povetkin down twice, I believe.
Yeah.
And he just caught, I wouldn't say it was a lucky punch, it was a brilliant punch that would have locked up most heavyweights. With his mental perspective, it's massive on how things play out next week.
It's an unbelievable analysis from Steve. Like, that's exactly it. It's kind of like, is he going to be a gun shy? And what's his game plan? And if he does get touched, like, what's his fight? Does he have a response, or is he going to kind of recoil into his shell a little bit? Yeah.
Well, fingers crossed, man. Dilian Whyte, I know we're all here rooting for you, man, because I mean, he deserves it, and he's a nice guy. Someone who lived the life of a boxer, comes from humble beginnings as well. So definitely do want to see him overcome this fight. This week there was another announcement. Honestly, there's like 3 or 4 announcements a week, man. But we finally had confirmation of Derek War Chisora against Joseph Parker. That would be on May the 1st, which to my surprise is pay-per-view. Guys, discuss. I know we discussed this kind of off air, but let's bring it out to the table for everyone tuning in here. I know you're all shaking your head about the prospect of being on pay-per-view.
Yeah, we'll talk about Ashanti. Should we let Ashanti start?
Go for it.
Off the top, I'm going to say I'm a stingy man, so I don't like paying.
Stingy? You're gonna pay £80 a minute ago.
that's to see Ray's face when AJ loses. But can I just say, like, May the 1st, the names are amazing. I'm not gonna lie, but breaking down the card, I love Derek Chisora. I love David Haye. He's probably my favorite fighter. That's the guy, one of the guys that got me into boxing. So him being around Chisora, he's getting better. I love that. But we're talking about maybe the 10th best heavyweight in the world versus the 14th. So you're kind of 3 fights away from a world title, the winner, or at least 2. It's not for a title. Then you've got Katie Taylor-Jonas. That's the one I'm looking forward to. I mean, I'm sure you all know the fact about the highest sound ever recorded at the Olympics was the Taylor-Jonas fight in the at the Olympic Park. It's going to be fantastic. I love the fact, Jonas is going to have money for her daughter, for her future. I love that. And, that southpaw and power, she could give Katie some problems early on. But then we look down, Marcus Morrison, Chris Eubank. Chris Eubank's been calling out Murata.
I know Mark Morrison.
Return of the Mac.
This is the return of the Mac, that's for sure.
Return of Eubank.
Too sweet wins a fight in Italy against I can't recall the guy's name, and now he's going to fight Chris Eubank Jr. and I'm expected to enjoy that. Okay, great. And then who was the last fight that got
Richard?
Oh, live massacre. I love Craig Richards again, another South London guy, great guy. Good win against Shakan Pitters on Channel 5. And now we're talking about Dimitri Bivol. Have people, I think this might be kind of not foreign fighter bias, but people haven't spent enough time watching. Have a look at Beterbiev and Bivol and see the level those guys are at. They are murderers. And they're the guys, I'm going to put it out there, they're the guys to beat Canelo. If he goes up to 175, Bivol and Beterbiev are the guys you got to worry about. A lot of it is size, but power. I'm telling you, 3 rounds, Craig Richards he's in trouble. And again, for a house, but he's getting knocked out. He is getting knocked out.
Me and Ashanti are clashing today.
You're clashing today, but Ray, go on. Sorry, I wanted to bring you in.
No, I was going to say, that is my main event. Craig Richards versus Bivol. I think that's my favourite fight on the card. That's what I'm really looking forward to seeing. And it's ironic because I think I said a few weeks ago in a group chat speaking on the British light heavyweight scene, and I said, imagine the fact that a few years ago people were saying Glowacki yard is what we're working towards, and then out of nowhere the 2 dark horses came out of it with Richards and Lyndon Arthur. And the irony is this the Richards fight, is that for the WBO?
WBA, I think.
WBA.
Yeah.
And I know that Lyndon is also ranked 3rd in WBO. I know Smith versus Vlasov, I believe that's his name, is going to be fighting. And Lyndon is straight after that. So I think it's really looking, you can maybe call it UK bias, but the scene's really looking good right now. And as long as everyone avoids Beterbiev, I think we can get some British light heavyweight fighters that are going to be world champions. So for me, how I would like it to go is Richards gets the win over Bivol, and I'm going to be putting money on that. And then if Lyndon Arthur can get that win against the winner of Smith and Vlasov, then guess what? You even set up a greater rematch for Yard against Arthur. Let Yard get a win under his belt, remind everyone how great he is. And then you've got an even greater rematch with Yard against Lyndon Arthur, world title on the line this time. Frank Warren, I've already told you, get me on the payroll because I'm doing your job for you.
I think we need to.
I can see Ray with like.
I think we need to teach Ray the word if.
Ray, do you read like Mills and Boone or Jane Austen or something like? But seriously,
did you watch Justice League this week, Ray?
Yeah.
Man's living that DC universe, man.
Quickly, guys, can I make one announcement? I've just set up a betting firm. It's called AGF Brooks. We've taken the name from Ladbrokes. Ray, please give me your money. I will take.
You only take bets from Ray, yeah.
Ray, I will give you 50-1 now on a Bivol win. You put down what you need to. It is over. I love Craig Richards. It's not even me talking.
Oh, bro.
But it's just reality. Come on.
My people will speak with your people.
Yo, Ashanti, can I ask, bro? Like, are you like a boxing purist then, or what? Like, so, like, does someone have to be? Is the accolades important to you? So I like the Chisora Parker fight. I think that would be a good fight. I'm up for paying for that. I like the Katie Taylor fight. That's a cracking fight. I think I'm with Ray. I don't think Spider will win, but I think Spider's awkward, and I think he can give a good account of himself on the fight. I think he's like a local kind of hero, so there's a lot of people that will support him in that. And I think it will be a nice story. Eubank's an exhibition, coming back from a long time out. He's a big name. I think there's a lot going on that card. I don't need to see Lomachenko against Rigondeaux for it to be like, oh, look how like exciting this boxing purist. No, that's going to be boring for me, even though they are the best in the world. Keep it. I'm taking Chisora Parker.
I've never thought about it, but I might be a purist. If you're saying you prefer Chisora over Rigondeaux and Lomachenko, 396-1. I know you're using that as an example, so I'm cool with it. But no, I'm not. I'm just like, how many fights has Del Boy lost? I mean, I don't even know if Parker really beat Farr. He looked dreadful in that fight. Like, it does not excite me. Come on, guys, man. I'm going to list just 7 fighters. Would you Dubois better than him? Hughie Fury better than them. Michael Hunter better than them. Obviously AJ and Tyson. Like, Joe Joyce. Like, we are talking like second, third tier heavyweights here. Second, third tier heavyweights. And we're just here for the banter and the
Are you lined up to watch Hughie Fury? Is that what you put on the card ahead of Del Boy? Or because he's a bit better? Like, who's watching Hughie Fury?
It'd be a fun scrap to watch, man.
Oh, mate, shades of Ali, yeah, whatever, mate.
Like I said, my main event is Richards versus Bivol.
Well, you're going to be leaving early then, because the fight's going to be at 8:40 and it'll be over at 8:42. Like, Bivol.
If we gotta collect these winnings, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, mate.
Bivol's coming round to my house because he's getting that money off Ray too. He's getting that little
I'm loving it.
To the body, and it's over. Like, Craig is in a world of trouble.
Oh, man.
I'm loving it. Ashanti, man, you owned him there, man. But look, just give us a little backstory to your love for boxing, and also the work that you've been doing sort of behind the scenes, working with promoters in the early part of your career.
Boxing has been a passion that I thought I created, but actually comes from both of my parents. My mum is a huge sports fan, and so I was watching the Chris Eubank fight nights 94, 95 on ITV, and there are 3 boxers that have got me massively into it. Prince Nazim. My mum's actually from Yorkshire. My uncle's actually trained down at the Winkerbank a few times back in the day, and I just love everyone that came out of that camp. And Prince Nazim, I'm a very small man, is a similar height to me. Thankfully, I'm not quite his weight yet, but I'll probably be there. And I just thought everything about Prince Nazim. I might sound silly on this podcast, but I do actually love flamboyant boxers. I love Adrian Broner. I love Nazim. I love Floyd. I love Prince Nazim. And then getting older, I mentioned it earlier, Ricky Hatton, David Hay, they got me into boxing. So that's how I got into it. And done some, work with Goodwin Boxing back in the day. I'm really lucky that I was actually, I won free tickets to a matchroom fight about 7 years ago. And a few rows ahead of me was Richard Comey. I don't know if you guys have heard of him.
Ghana's finest.
Yeah, I'll have to wear my hat next time. So I literally recognised him. And I was like, Mickey, want to get into boxing, blah, blah, blah. So I've been down to, he gave me his number, went down to his gym, watched Richard train, and Duke Mika, who I think fought for a WBO title last year. So good fight down there. And I've got a Ghanaian name. I'm not Ghanaian, but I've got a Ghanaian name. So Mickey loved me. And then Goodwin, and had the pleasure of being able to work at a few of Goodwin's shows. So yeah, I've sat front row to guys like Akeem Ennis Brown. Duke Mika's been on the card. Richard Comey. I've seen some really good guys come through the Goodwin camp, and that's kind of was my first foray into boxing. And now working in kind of sports management, doing some pretty cool stuff. I think, one of my clients set a world record at Wembley, which I was at a few weeks ago. That was an amazing feeling. Another guy just did a documentary on Marcus Rashford, which is on iPlayer. So please do watch that if you've got the time. And then got a client called JD Dyer who's on Sky Sports. He's the face of Sky Sports NBA, and he's just done a podcast with Liam Payne of One Direction fame, and that has allowed me to kind of be on Zoom calls with lots of big names. The biggest probably that might excite the boxing fans is French Montana of Adrian Broner fame. You know how it is, which was kind of a surreal feeling for me. I've been a Montana fan for a long time, so the kind of
had the uni race popping back in the day.
Oh, you know what it is, and now working with JD, he's also got another part of his team. Kenny, shouts out to Kenny at Mailroom. He works with David Adelaide, Denzel Bentley. So quite a few links across the boxing world, and hopefully many more fight nights to come when we're out of all of this madness.
Brilliant stuff there, Ashanti, man. I've got to say it's a pleasure to have you on the weigh-in. Not a bad debut, I must say. We'll definitely sort out some negotiations in tomorrow's Zoom meeting, and we'll try and get you on in the near future.
After that May the 1st card, can I come on after that May the 1st card? Because Ray and I...
Well, mate, I've got to say, he's actually a May born. Ray's birthday's in May, so that'd be a nice present for him.
I don't want to brag, but Clive and Steve are going to be eating some free Uber Eats because I'm going to be food for the boys on Ray as well. It's so kind of him. He's just going to be distributing whatever we want.
That's good stuff. And Ashanti, I quite like the fact that you mentioned your parents and sort of their influence into where you are now, loving the sport, loving boxing. As you all know, in the last week or so, we sadly lost the marvelous Marvin Hagler, boxing legend and someone who we will dearly miss. Raymond, I want to bring you in here because I know you've got a fascinating story in terms of your name. I know you're Sugar Ray Leonard, but I'm going to give everyone listening a sort of backstory into how your parents sort of named you.
My mum was a big fan of Sugar Ray Leonard, and she was a big fan of Marvelous Hagler. So when they were fighting, she said, whoever wins this fight, that's who I'm named after. So Sugar Ray won. I was called Sugar Ray. And I remember growing up, I didn't actually understand where the name came from. So a lot of my mum's friends and a lot of uncles and aunts used to be like, they used to call me Sugar back in the day. I used to always wonder why these people calling me Sugar. My name's Ray. I'll go to my mum, I asked her, and she then explained this story to me of being named after Sugar Ray Leonard. So I still even remember telling the news to my mum, like she was hurt, like the shock on her face, because like I said, she was a fan of both of them. So it's definitely a blow to the boxing world and to many viewers that saw that warrior in the ring. So definitely have to pay our respects to Marvelous Marvin Hagler.
Absolutely there, man. So our thoughts and prayers go out to the Hagler family. May the boxing legend rest in peace. That's all we've got time for today on the weigh-in. A mega show. We kind of went through a lot today, man. So
what an episode.
Yeah, man, a great episode. So thanks again, folks, for listening. Make sure you are following us on Instagram. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and do all that jazz over on YouTube. Really great to catch up with you, Ashanti. We'll talk some negotiations about getting you on. I know
This was fun, man.
I know the bag's gone up. But yeah, for all the listeners to the weigh-in, join us next week as we'll be reacting to all the fight action from the Rumble of the Rock in Gibraltar. So fingers crossed to Dilian and Whyte. Bring home the bacon. If you're vegan, then bring home some mushroom burgers. I just want to end this show by giving a shout out to a member of the team who will be taking a slight step back from the mic. Clive, CB, East Ham's finest. It's been a pleasure to be working with you on this podcast. I know you're going to be stepping back from the mic to kind of work on other areas of the business. I know you're a big man in terms of advertisement and sponsorship, and you've definitely been helping us in terms of our sort of social media engagement. So a big shout out to Clive. He's not leaving us. He's taken a slight step back from the mic, but he'll definitely be active in our group chats and steering us into the right direction.
We'll make guest appearances, so don't worry, people. CB will be back.
He'll be back, and I'm sure he'll be back.
May the first, man.
Since that promise of Uber Eats, mate, get rid of him now.
Oh, that's amazing, man. But I'm Clive, man. Big up, man. I'm honestly, it's been
Definitely.
No, it's been an absolute blast, man. Looking forward to more boxing content, man. So, guys, subscribe, like, share, and continue to support and watch.
Good stuff. So that's Clive there, the last word. You're listening to the Weigh In Podcast. May you have a blessed week and stay safe.